While on the carriage journey to Harmony, city of the first note, Gar asked May if she had a chance to speak with Ilmater. May told Gar that she had, and that she believes that her journey with the group is not yet finished. At this point, the party realized that they didn't have a name to refer to their group as, and began thinking of possibilities. Zeos requested for Torin to use the Identify spell on the Memoriam Cube to hopefully be able to reveal some of the mystery behind this strange item. Mavis paid close attention as Torin cast the spell, to hopefully be able to identify any devices he may be using in the process, to prove that it was science and not magic. And although Mavis noticed that Torin required the use of a pearl while casting the spell, the pearl appeared quite normal, leaving Mavis still perplexed. As Torin finished casting the spell, it revealed nothing. Apparently, the item was in some way being shielded from divination magic. Mavis asked if the pearl was required for all magic that Torin wielded, to which Torin explained that there are many spells that do not require such tools, as he produced a still image of a tornado in his hand using the Minor Illusion cantrip. Mavis still seemed unwilling to accept this as a reality, explaining that he can recreate any of his inventions time and time again, showing his clockwork toy replica of himself that explodes as an example. Mavis grew uncomfortable with the conversation after Torin acknowledged that Mavis himself wields magic, and contemplated what type of caster Mavis may be. Torin added that the group may be able to find answers to the location that they seek from their vision by visiting the College of Lore in the City of Harmony. As Zeos tried to recall if he had heard of the College of Lore, May added that it could be found in the Grand Hall, the defining structure in the City of Harmony. Mavis recalled that Harmony was referred to as the City of the First Note, and he inquired what this actually means. Torin didn't have too much knowledge on the subject since he isn't a bard, but he did share that a bard feels their connection to the everlasting song that underlies creation, much in the same way that a wizard feels a connection to the weave, and that the bards have been able to trace the origins of that song to the first note that started it all. Gar asked Mavis about his clockwork replicas of himself, and what's required to create them. But more specifically, Gar asked when Mavis first learned to create the items he creates. Mavis explained that the clockwork toys were his first creation, a happy accident with an explosive outcome. Mavis recalled that this was an important moment for him, as he realized that he could take his knowledge and create things that could have an impact. Gar shared a book that was his first introduction to being a cleric, hoping to find some common ground, though Mavis was very reluctant to accept and preferred to stick to what he knew. May shared with Laren that she understood what it was like to not be able to go home, and offered to be there for her if she needed anything, or simply someone to relate to. Laren stated that she felt relieved for the first time in a long time, and that she was thankful to have May as a part of the group. Laren also reciprocated May's offer, offering to be there to listen in case May needed someone as well. As the group made camp for the evening, Gar offered to take first watch and continued to ask Mavis questions about his blueprints that he keeps, in an attempt to continue to understand him. Zeos offered to take second watch and asked Torin some questions about how he could cast the Identify spell, since Zeos is unable to. Torin shared what he could, stating that the weave is still a mystery, and seems to open up differently to different casters, limiting the realm of magic available to them. Zeos simply remarked that, "That's dumb," frustrated by the limitation. As the conversation continued, Torin remarked that Zeos and Mavis seem not so very different, and that if there's a problem to be solved, they both go all in. Torin also asked if Zeos was born in the city of Rand, given his abilities as a sorcerer, but Zeos replied that he actually does not know where he's originally from. As Gar and Mavis continued their conversation, Mavis asked Gar if he knew what Melora actually looked like, and Gar described her almost exactly as Mavis had seen in his vision. Mavis asked Gar some questions about his experience as a cleric, and Gar shared what he could. Gar shared that when he was stressed, he would go to where he felt most comfortable, the outdoors, on the sea, under a sky full of stars, recommending that Mavis do the same. Laren caught Mavis before he went to sleep, stating that she would like to know more about his story. Mavis stated that his story is yet to unfold, separate from his past, and that he plans to make a name for himself. Laren accepted his directness, and the group slept for the evening. During Zeos' watch, he continued to experiment with teleportation magic, but felt the magic begin to grow out of control and decided to leave it for another night. Over the next several days of travel, Mavis repaired the broken dagger for Zeos, Zeos spoke with Torin about teleportation circles, and Zeos asked if he could borrow Torin's spellbook for study. Mavis and Zeos had an altercation involving a rogue snowball while Zeos was experimenting with frost magic during a rainy day, resulting in a frustrated Mavis, and Mavis needing to wait for his blueprints to dry out because of it. And finally, Gar spent some time with the sending spell to contact his home during the journey. As the party's journey continued into hillier terrain, eventually streams began to form, slowly growing into rivers, which formed a river delta where they ended in the sea, and at the end of the river delta stood the City of Harmony. An elegant mixture of primarily human and elvish architecture and a beautiful myriad of color, this city is no small wonder to behold. Farmland and smaller suburban areas sprawled about outside the city walls, but the thing that stood out most was the massive spire in the center of Harmony. A rising masterpiece of 4 buildings that rose several hundred feet toward the sky with an elegance to its design and very distinct colors in each of its pieces, representing the 4 Bardic colleges. As the party entered the City of Harmony, they were greeted by the sounds of a wonderful, bustling city teeming with life. Children ran through the streets with laughter, bards played music and danced on street corners, and nobles rode by on horses as the hooves clattered on the bright cobblestone roads. And all the while, the beautiful sight of the majestic Grand Hall was visible above the horizon toward the center of the city. The party was approached by a half-elven man who introduced himself as Oliver Flynn, stating that he could offer his services as a guide for the party during their stay in Harmony, though most of the party seemed to be put off by the strange, smooth cadence to Oliver's voice, deciding to head to the College of Lore on their own to find their answers. May shared that she stayed at an inn known as the Rumor's Reach when she was previously in Harmony, which Torin agreed would be a good place for lodging. Zeos asked where they could find Torin if they needed him, and Torin told them that they could ask the local guard, known as the Residence Guard, for directions to his shop in the magic wing of the city, and with that, Torin said his goodbyes to the party for the time being. The party made their way to the Grand Hall, a massive spire building that is actually comprised of 4 quadrants, each with a different color, a yellowish saffron, a cobalt blue, an emerald green, and an amethyst pink. The party entered the yellow quadrant, known as the College of Lore, and spoke with the receptionist about how to find the information they sought, as suddenly Oliver approached the group again, heeding the silent call for help. Oliver and Zeos proceeded into the library to look for information on the location in the party's vision, but Mavis insisted that anybody else be a guide for him in his research, as a guide was required for non-members to enter the library of the College of Lore, and a halfling named Dradur joined Mavis in the library. Gar introduced himself to the receptionist, adding that he was a member of an expedition crew, and inquired about something known as the Isle of the Gods, though the receptionist didn't seem to know anything about it. The rest of the group each had their own points of research. Mavis looked for information on the memoriam item that the group has, and very reluctantly agreed to visit the magic items section of the library. Laren decided to look for information on jewelry, hoping to find something on this riddle that Hermund, the mad wizard, gave to her, and this ring that he claimed he hid from the Knox family. And finally, May inquired about a very skilled linguist for some information that she was seeking. The receptionist explained the rules to the group, and that she may be able to get the group passes to the library during their stay without the need for a guide. The group asked about items and knowledge about the First Age, which the receptionist stated was in a restricted section of the library, one that the group was not allowed in. Although she humored the party and said she would see if anyone in management was interested. After a few hours of research, Mavis was unable to find specifics on the memoriam item that the party recovered, but Zeos and Oliver were able to find a book that referenced a location known as the Cloud Spires that very closely fit the description that Zeos gave for the location in the party's vision. Oliver added that the Cloud Spires stood out to him specifically due to the monks that lived near there that were very shy and good at hiding, and did not reveal themselves to people they don't trust. Oliver explained that a friend of his, a female half-elf known as Chassiana Thalrazil, has been one of the few people that have built a rapport with the monks, and as Oliver continued, he realized that Chassiana had not returned to Harmony for quite some time, longer than she should have been away. Oliver allowed Zeos to rent the book about the Cloud Spires, titled Karsts and the Like, as long as he returned it the next day. May visited a jewelry shop named A Pocket in Time, where she asked about the ornate pocket watch she was looking for, but unfortunately the owner, who introduced himself as Thorleon, was unable to locate the item. But May insisted that they continue the search through their entire inventory, but since the research was going to take quite some time, May decided to head to the Rumor's Reach to rejoin the rest of the group until the morning. Gar and Laren were the first to arrive at the Rumor's Reach. As they entered the bustling tavern filled with jovial patrons and a band of bards playing on a stage in the back, they approached the bar and they met a friendly dwarf named Belagron Aelfist, who apparently went by the nickname of Belly. Belagron was the bartender of the Rumor's Reach, and he very clearly loved sharing rumors just as much as he loved hearing rumors, and he couldn't help but share rumors about growing gills if you spend an entire night under the waters of the Sapphire Expanse off to the west, or of some ore containing fire properties that was discovered in the Alberian Peaks. As Gar and Laren settled in, an individual named Dumer Jollard invited Gar to sit down for a game of Jollard, a game that played similarly to blackjack but involved dice rather than cards. Apparently, Dumer invented the game himself, and had been trying to spread the word so that Jollard could increase in popularity. Gar ended up winning the round, and as Zeos, May, and Mavis arrived at the tavern, the group settled in for the night. With the events of the day on their minds, and a possible direction for the spires above the clouds, the group now prepares for the next part of their journey.